Jimmy Spoon and the Pony Express. 11, an embarrassing moment. On a cool September morning, Jimmy relayed out of Roberts Creek. Dark clouds met the horizon, and there was a rumble of thunder. When the first raindrop hit his neck, he shivered. It felt like ice. Soon the hard-packed trail was muddy. Every few miles, Jimmy shifted position in his saddle, but still his muscles ached as they had after his first ride in April. He sneezed. His fringed leather jacket felt heavy with the rain that now soaked his shirt. His wet Levi's slipped against the mochila. By the time Jimmy pulled in at Ruby Valley Station, he was chilled. How he wished he could soak in Tosa Ibi, the hot bubbling soda springs used by his Shoshone family. This gave him an idea. It would be several hours before he needed to relieve the westbound rider, so there was time to rest. He hung his wet clothes on the rafters to dry. Still shivering, he set a tub in the corner near the north fireplace, which was warm with crackling pinon and a steamy black cauldron. Jimmy was thankful Milo and Mr. Tagg kept it filled with water, and that they kept the woodpile high. It was not easy hauling logs from hills above Ruby Lake. The tub was actually a copper hip bath delivered by wagon from a society club in Salt Lake City. It looked like a coffee mug with its front scooped low. Jimmy could sit in it, water up to his hips, his legs draped over the side, with his hat on his head to keep his body heat. He might be able to get rid of his chill. Jimmy soaped luxuriously, eyes closed. The steam relaxed his aches and made him feel sleepy. His ears were so plugged up, he did not hear the rumbling approach of the stagecoach. He did, however, feel a gust of cold air on his legs. When he looked up, he saw Penn. He also saw Lillian Zimmerman hanging her shawl on a peg. She was chattering gaily about her visit to Fort Churchill. They had not noticed Jimmy in the corner. Soon enough, though, Lillian turned. When she saw Jimmy's bare legs dangling over the tub, her hand flew to her cheek. "Oh, pardon me," she cried. Jimmy closed his eyes in despair. What was he supposed to do? He was exhausted. He had a runny nose and a terrible headache, which was why he couldn't think clearly. He was taking a bath. Yes, Lillian Zimmerman was there, but the only logic he could make out of it was to remember his father's stern advice. Always stand when a lady enters the room. With a splash, Jimmy lifted himself out of the tub, steam rising from his warm, wet skin. After a few seconds of dripping on the dirt floor, he realized his error and whisked his hat from his head down into his lap. Lillian's mouth dropped open. Penn immediately hid her eyes with her hand, spun her toward the door, and escorted her outside. Miserable with embarrassment, Jimmy sank back into the tub. A few minutes later, the stage pulled out and Penn returned, cold air sweeping into the room before he was able to close the door. "I'm terribly sorry, Jim," he said. "I had no idea you'd be taking a bath. Ain't she pretty, though?" Jimmy was groggy, but he managed to smile. Yes, she sure enough was. "You gonna court Lillian when you get back to Salt Lake, Jimmy? She told me she likes you. I'm thinking on it, but I'm also thinking to go north come spring, maybe." Penn lifted the heavy pot from the coals and poured steaming water into Jimmy's tub. "To see your Indian family? What's that girl's name again?" "Nahani," said Jimmy. "We were good friends, and I want to see her. But Jim, why would you think about courting an Indian when there's lots of girls in Salt Lake just dying for you to notice them? They smell good and have nice manners, and being with them won't cause no controversy, if you know what I mean." Excuse me. Jimmy sneezed. He lowered his shoulder into the hot water and closed his eyes. "It's hard to explain," he said with weariness, but somewhere inside Jimmy, doubts were growing. Maybe he should leave his past alone. And that's the end of chapter 11.